Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome you once again to another Sunday morning here on this beautiful, and I mean beautiful. It's the sun is actually trying to get out for a change, and not particularly very common, especially in the month of January. But for what it's worth, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I might go even for maybe a pleasant walk whilst I have the chance to refresh and reorganize my mind. And that's where I kind of want to start talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, because I've been partly inspired once again by today's service. So I'm going to explain to you possibly one of the great benefits of the great outdoors. Even if you want to do something, let's say, extremely casual, like go on a pleasant, lovely walk somewhere, not for any reason, not for any purpose, but just to out and about and get some fresh air. Now, some of you may already know that I'm on a very strict diet plan at the moment, but there is nothing to say in my diet plan that I cannot just walk out purely for my own leisure and simply just to enjoy myself. There's absolutely nothing that says that I am limited from this mode of exercise. Moreover, there is this to be said. I often find some of my best ideas, or at least the beginnings of ideas, often formulate when I'm outside or whenever I just have time for myself, because when you spend time on your own, you have for the most part, your thoughts for company, or perhaps whatever music perhaps you like to take with you, or maybe you're reminiscing after just reading a book or watching something on the television. Many things can flow through your mind at once. But in today's reading, when they talked about Samuel, who was visited by the Lord in his sleep, he had the ambition in his mind that he was God's servant and he is listening to him with an open ear. Now, being inspired, I should say, through whatever means you may find yourself inclined to believe is the only sole cause of inspiration. It could be from music, it could be from television, all those examples. It could even come from God, or perhaps something that was said during a service of any kind. But especially because in my relationship with God and I'm going to say my role in Catholicism is to be presented these readings, these stories from the Bible, and it is somewhat up to me to interpret how does this affect me as a Catholic in the real world. One of the greatest things that I ever heard from a Saturday night service a few years ago, we were visited by then Bishop of Hexham and Newcastle, Bishop Seamus, Bishop Seamus, who said that there is a very important difference between being a Catholic inside of church and being a Catholic outside of church. It is not only loving your neighbour, it is going out of your way to putting this to its logical test. And if you're willing to do that, then that proves to you that you're not just a good person in the 1 hour you've decided to give up of your day to worship God. You have to worship him by following his commands, his rules outside of church as well. Now, with that being said, when it comes to, from my own experience, one little habit I've started to pick up upon that's been escalating over the last few weeks is that anytime I buy anything from a shop, I will always give some change, whatever loose it might be, in my wallet to a collection box. It could be to a St. Oswald's fund. It could be to breast cancer, which I'm a very big advocate of funding nonetheless. There is also men's for a charity for prostate cancer. There are numerous, and there is an inexhaustible list of charities that any person can simply donate whatever little change they may have to what is a very noble cause. I even started talking last night to a friend who I haven't spoken to for nearly 4 years at this point, and she is now working for a charity which I had absolutely I even explained that I have almost no words to express what a very selfish act that truly is. There could be people watching this right now who work for charity, and those are the sort of people who know exactly what it means to be a Catholic, a worshipper, somebody who has a faith in abundance, both inside of church and outside of it. Now, getting back on track to what I was saying about going for walks and getting ideas all together in your head. One of the greatest things that I've started to learn over the last few years, I think this began at near the end of my first year of university, is that I would make lists, I would make plans, I would make miniature deadlines for myself saying that I have to do X, Y, and Z by this, that, and the other. And doing this made my life somewhat a little bit more organized. There's something a little bit more of a routine going on, so that I have realistic goals to set out, and I have realistic and reasonable deadlines to complete them, and these would continue day after day, so that things became much easier. And there was, like I said before, if there were some difficulties or they presented some unexpected problems, then there are solutions to working around them. In the past, I was not particularly very good at thinking fast, you might say. Whenever like a problem presented of myself, I would sort of like clam up and almost not even know what to do, because this sort of threw everything out of proportion, you might say. But they have to be dealt with as a matter of course. So gradually over time, I just got on with it and learned from what I needed to do next. And especially as time is going on, and regardless of what might happen for me at work, whether or not there will be an extension on my contract, there probably should, especially because of the peculiar temperament of our time, and with infections and deaths still rising day after day, it seems all the more natural to not necessarily just cut me loose at this very difficult time. But it has got me thinking about, where exactly do I go next? What is the next step in my plan to move on with my life? What do I want to go on to do next? And that is going to have to give me lots of thought in terms of what exactly is next on the horizon. I know I've already labelled out many of my plans before and many of my ambitions, but as of right now, they are still just ambitions. I have to do something very, very particular to not only put these from thoughts to words into actions, but I need to do them a little bit sooner now, because I haven't disclosed this yet, but in 2 weeks from today, I will be turning 23. And before we know what happens, I might be 33. And then 43, and then 53, and then 63, and then will I even make it to 73? Will I even make it until next week? Time certainly will tell, but if I really am wanting to do it, then I've got to be aware that eventually time is going to start working against me. That is, however, if I don't make the most of my time. And that is something I'm going to have to ponder about a lot more than I realise, that eventually I will become 23 years of age. And eventually I will have to leave my job as well, because of the expiration of my contract, whenever that might be. So if I'm going to move lodgings, you might say, or change my surroundings, then I've got to be I have to have a very clear idea in my head about where it is I'm willing to go and what it is I'm going to do when I get there. And just to prove of this, just before we close off for today, ladies and gentlemen, I will read from the first book of Samuel. Samuel was lying in sanctuary of the Lord, where the ark of God was. When the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel," he answered, "Here I am." Then he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, since you called me." Eli said, "I did not call. Go back and lie down. So he went and lay down. Once again the Lord called, Samuel, Samuel. Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am, since you called me. He replied, I did not call you, my son. Go back and lie down. Samuel had as yet no knowledge of the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. Once again the Lord called, the third time. He got up and went to Eli and said, Here I am, since you called me. Eli then understood that it was the Lord who was calling the boy, and he said to Samuel, Go and lie down, and if someone calls you, say, Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord then came and stood by, calling as he had done before, Samuel, Samuel. Samuel answered, Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Samuel grew up and the Lord was with him, and left no word of his fall to the ground. The word of the Lord, thanks be to God. As quoted from Samuel itself, he was somebody who had been called by the Lord to do his work. He was inspired because he realized that the Lord was visiting to him in his own dreams. You could easily say that the Lord definitely does work in mysterious ways, and whatever comes my way, whether it be through ambition, through music, or maybe it could be even through a message in the music from God himself that could have said, here is what you're prepared to do, so go ahead, go and do it now, Mr. James. Maybe he will be the person to find out some formula or work out how I am to fully come to terms with the center of the holotropic state, of where I will maybe one day become whole and a part of the body of Christ. That might be the first part, is to find out what it is that can make me whole. What is it out there, maybe within me, maybe perhaps what I've done already and what I have yet to do. All of these will become parts of the whole, the self. And then I will be prepared to work and believe in that what I do will appease many people. Because Samuel was, for the most part, a servant as well to other people, to Eli, and I'm not entirely sure whether or not that was in the days of King David. But what I do know is that if it was possible that Samuel believed that God was visiting him in his sleep, then it's not entirely unreasonable to say that maybe God will find ways to communicate with us all, in ways perhaps we were not intending. That is his way. It may not be ours, but maybe it should be us to interpret, to understand that he wants to talk to us, and for us to listen. Take care, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.